What a great day to be out on a ride. Actually isn't raining for once. It's been raining a lot here in Oregon, and actually have a day where it's not raining, and this is great. So good day to get out on a ride. Some clouds off in the distance, and it's cool but not cold. 55 degrees, and it's kind of a nice afternoon. Had a little time to go out for a ride after work, so thought we'd just enjoy a little bit of the day here, just a quick ride. And I'll just share it with you guys a little bit. And thanks for riding along. Yeah, the 890 Adventure R, it cruises along so nicely at 60 miles per hour. Actually tacks in around 4,000 RPM, and actually just a little below at 60, maybe 38, 3,900 RPM. Feels like it could do this all day. Definitely a very comfortable bike to put some miles on the highway, but I do enjoy getting off road. Seems like the bike really comes alive then, and that's what it likes. But I enjoy driving it on the highway. It's between the torque and the power and the comfortable riding position, good brakes, nice suspension. I like driving it on the highway too. One of the things I like about motorcycles is the performance. I mean, for a $9,000 to $15,000 motorcycle, and you can pay less or more than that, of course, and get an excellent bike. I mean, you just have great performance. I mean, the horsepower to weight ratio and cornering ability. It just always amazes me the performance of a motorcycle, and even above and beyond that, there's something about driving a motorcycle, just feeling the air and the leaning. I mean, you drive a car, and I like driving cars. That's fun. But you ride a motorcycle. You feel the road. Like, here's this car in front of me. He's going through the corners, and probably feels fine. But a motorcycle, I lean into the corner. I'm feeling the corner, sensing what that.
Say a command. Cancelled.
To pull out of the corner. It's a different experience riding a motorcycle than, driving a car. So I come through these corners, and it just feels so good to just lean through them and flow through them. Not necessarily even fast, just to feel that flow of the road, and accelerating out of the corner as that opens up. Braking, downshifting, coming out of the corner. Just something about it. If you're having an okay day, it makes for a better day. It's nice not to be riding in the rain. I mean, rain's fine. Riding the rain is better than no ride, but oh man, driving on a day like this, no rain, that's awesome. That's one thing I will say about people in Oregon and the Pacific Northwest is when it's not raining, you're thankful. We don't take sun for granted here. That's for sure. Got some leaves on the pavement. Doesn't feel too slick though, but I don't want to find out the hard way either. That's what's nice about this ABS and traction control is it does give you a little more forgiveness in these kinds of conditions, but it's not necessary either. Look at this great view. Getting up in the mountains a little higher all the time, going over some washboard. I'm amazed at how nice the 890 feels on washboard. Great view looking out over the coastal mountains. Drive a little further west over that way and you'll hit the ocean. We're about up in that coast range on loose gravel here, and the bike feels so composed. Very composed. I always wonder with this bike, it feels so controlled on gravel that if I ever lose it, is it going to be just ugly? And I'm just going to go from a composed feel to just an absolute wreck. But I don't see that happening. I mean, I guess it could, but it's just so predictable. Such a nice bike to ride. Over washboard, gravel, and all that. It just feels great. On a washboard here. Many times I'll stand up when I hit the washboard, but with this, the 890, I've had good luck. I softened the shock up, took the preload all the way out. If you want to see a video on that, just let me know. I'll be happy to show you what I did to soften up the rear shock. I think I took the preload on the front forks off by maybe one click, so it didn't really make much of an adjustment on that, but does really well. See right there, using the speed shifter, didn't want to go for the clutch because it was kind of a little bumpy, and it's perfect. That's kind of the main time I use the speed shifter, is if I'm going through a gear and I just don't want to take the time to go. I mean, need another gear and I don't want to take the time to get pulling the clutch. Maybe it's bumpy, so not so much the time is just not wanting to take my hands off the handlebars. That way I can keep control. So there I was hugging the inside, not so much because that's a line I wanted to take, but just in case somebody was coming around the corner and I couldn't see them. People have been known to come around these corners in a sideways drift. So like here, it's a right-hand corner, kind of blind rather than being way far left. You could argue that, yeah, I could see if I went left, but the problem is if somebody's coming around at a rapid rate, more washboard here, feels good. If somebody's coming around at a rapid rate, you won't have time to get out of their way. And I had many times where that has saved me from getting hit. So if I can't see around a corner, a right-hand corner, I do like to hug that inside of that corner so I could go for the ditch if I need to. So here I'm hugging the inside a little bit, and I can get back on it. But if there weren't all the foliage and you could see through here a little better, it is a lot of fun to try to kind of straighten out some of these corners like this. I can come down here and then outside, inside. And braking into the corner, gradually accelerating out, braking, lightly trail braking into the corner, and then back out. That's pretty slick and sloppy through there with the leaves, and traction control on 5 works good. I do like to ride this in rally mode, but throttle to the street setting helps me get a little more modulation. Rally, I like it, but it's just a little bit too... It's hard for me to modulate the throttle, and it's not that rally's bad. I just would need to be like, I don't know, sand dunes or something where I really needed a lot of throttle fast. But in this kind of riding, I like being able to modulate the throttle and roll on gradually rather than have an abrupt hit of throttle and acceleration, which again, I like that, but it just needs to be the right kind of riding for me to want that. So I like the throttle, see it's in street, ride, rally, throttle, street, and then ABS is off-road. I have found it helpful to have be able to get a little rear wheel lockup, or not lockup, but mild skidding when I'm coming into a turn, or you don't even hear the skid, but I found that the ABS can, if I got it in street mode or full on ABS to the rear, it will not let me brake as much as I would like to brake. So I just leave it in the off-road mode for ABS, and it's perfect for what I'm doing. See, this is a lot of washboard. I'm not even feeling it. That's amazing to me. I've had bikes where I came through here and actually got beat to where I regretted riding because it was so bumpy. In this, man, no problem. So with this throttle in the street mode, I can roll on the throttle, get back off, roll back on, back off, roll back on, and it's just a nice smooth transition. And this road opens up a little bit. I can get on this a little bit. So just a very nice KTM 890 is very nice to ride. And the brakes are good, handling is good. Like I said, the only drawback is this thing handles so good, it's easy to go a little faster than you're intending. But is that really a drawback? I don't know. This bike feels so good on pavement, but also on these gravel roads. And I'm kind of slid forward on the seat a little bit towards the tank. This bike, I do feel like it's a little narrower than the 790. Narrower up around the tank and the seat, which for somebody with short little legs, 30-inch inseam, feels good because it helps me get to the ground a little easier. I still have to offset my bottom to the side to get to the ground, but I'm about 5'6" and a half, and I like driving this bike. The height of it isn't a problem. I used to pick bikes based on height years ago, but now I don't even look at that. I'm riding the standard seat. I haven't found lowered seats to help that much. You're better off just learning how to ride and just ride the bike. I mean, you get the bike to ride it. I don't get it to reach the ground necessarily because I want to ride out of situations, not do something else. But no, sometimes you'd have to dab the ground, but most of the time when I'm in that situation, I'm in something soft and ruddy, and I'm digging down, and it helps me reach the ground. Man, what a beautiful day. Look at this. It's awesome. Can't even believe it. Funny how sometimes you don't go. I almost didn't go for a ride today because just always something else to do. But you know, you're always glad after you go for a ride. It just feels good. I do like with this bike how if there's a pothole or something, I can, even at a lower RPM, I can give enough acceleration to float the front tire over a pothole. You can see this is riddled with potholes, and I'll dodge what I can because you never know quite how deep they're going to be. Sometimes they're deeper than you think, but even ones that I hit that are fairly deep, I haven't bottomed out the front forks, which is more than I can say about some of the other bikes I've owned. Where pretty sure once I broke my wrist. I mean, just it hurt for a while. and many months, and I have a suspicion that it was a mild break from just a compression on my wrist, but nothing you'd need real attention for. Just more of maybe a sprain strain kind of thing as well, but this has not done that. But I don't want to find out the hard way either. So there, I didn't have time to dodge. And even around 3,000, 3,500 RPM, I'm able to give it enough throttle that it can, lift over that. So that's a great feature of this bike. I do like getting in that dirt bike position on this bike and just riding. Dodge things. And very plush ride. See, I didn't get through that one. That pothole, got the front end lofted and the back end hit it, and it didn't kick. Didn't do anything that I wasn't expecting. The brakes are still feeling quite good. More sensitivity, and I'm finding that as I break the brakes in, we're at I got about 450 miles on this bike now. They're getting better. So if you test ride the bike, it's new. I do feel like I was happy with how the brakes were new. They were improvement over the 790. These are getting even better as they break in. Get those pads seated to the rotors. I like this bike, how you can come into a corner. Came into that corner a little hot. Had to take some speed off and was sliding around the back end. And as I was on the front brake, and it just still felt very composed, even in a little bit of a skid. Take front end up. There we go. Did great. And sometimes I'll go up a gear just to be able to use the torque out of a corner. Some slick leaves on the road and gravel. But it's so nice not to be riding in the rain today. It's amazing how much darker it can become when you get in a tree canopy compared to something that's out in the open. So this is pretty bumpy through here. I mean, some washboard, some potholes. It's slick, leaves and rocks, and this bike just handles it great. So easy to get the front end up over that stuff. And traction 5, you can kind of come out of here and drift a little bit. There's a little bit of a drift, and it just lets you hang the back end out a little, but it doesn't ever get away from you. Best part about adventure riding is just getting out in the nature, seeing things you might not normally see, getting some fresh air. See down that river down there in that little gully. Just standing up now, it feels good just to stand up, just for a change in positions. Very composed bike, very composed feel going through relatively slippery, loose terrain. I'm not doing anything too unusual through here, just keeping the bike rolling, but it just very composed ride. This stuff's pretty slick. Decomposing leaves, wet, loose gravel, and I just glide over this like there's nothing to it. And it's not because I'm a great rider either. I'm just probably average. Oh, here comes somebody right there. It's going pretty fast. That's why you always ride at 5 or 6 tenths of your ability, because if I was riding at 10 tenths right there, we probably would have hit. So I've heard that years ago. Just ride at 5, 6, 7 tenths of your ability. Don't ride at 10 tenths. If you're all out, something happens. You just don't have any ability. There's not anything left to, avoid a collision or an accident. So I always thought that, and I'm not saying all accidents are because you're riding at the edge of your limits. Sometimes you do everything right and it can go wrong. But at least if you're riding in a way where you got a little bit left on the table, then you got a shot at avoiding the accident if at all possible. And what does that mean, riding at 5 tenths, 6 tenths of your ability? Well, it means maybe you don't go as fast as you think you could. Maybe you don't come out of the corner as fast as you could. I mean, if we're not on a track or on roads, not very well-traveled roads. I mean, that's the only car I've met on this road today. When I was up on this area. Coming up to the area, that was behind a car, but once I got up here, that's been the only one. But you just never know. So just something to think about. I always ride motorcycles like I want to do it again tomorrow. You want to do it again tomorrow, not get hurt to where you have to stop riding, ideally. I work in a field where I help people get better from injuries, and as each decade that we age, we heal, but maybe not quite as fast. So, at 16, man, you feel like you're pretty bulletproof, because in a sense you are. I mean, it's hard to get hurt. You heal up fast, and it's almost a super healing human ability almost. But as we get older, like I said, each decade we're just not going to bounce back quite as fast. Now, the body's pretty miraculous. It'll heal do its best to heal no matter where you're at, but sometimes it's just not going to bounce back the way you'd like it to. So when it comes to motorcycles, you want to have fun, go out and ride. I don't think about necessarily risk as I'm riding. I'm just having fun, but it doesn't hurt to ride within your means and in your control, in control, so that you can do your best to avoid having a really bad day and ride again. Ride again the next day or next week. Have a pretty river rapids there. Looks like they got something going on up here. Looks like they're saying I can go through, so that's good. Looks clear. So yeah, always ride so that you can ride again another day. What a beautiful late afternoon. That's the thing about motorcycles, is they can take kind of a so-so day and make it good. Out here enjoying the beauty, fresh air. Because I think riding motorcycles is one of the best antidepressants that exists. Feeling good. Such a nice day. So, I'm gonna accelerate up this hill at the corner. Leaves on the road. And just quick shifter right here. Very smooth. Fourth, fifth, sixth, very smooth. And that was by no means full throttle or max RPMs. I'm just rolling through the gears, shifting in a normal way, lower RPM. I'm at 460 miles, so I'm not through the break-in period yet. I think until 600 miles or so, it limits the RPM or redlines a little sooner. I haven't found a limit, but I haven't purposely tried to rev the bike out or anything either. I'm not one to baby a bike during the break-in, but at the same time, I don't rev it out in a way that is unnecessary. I want this thing to, break in right, so I vary my speed, find roads like these where I'm braking, accelerating. I've heard to brake in a motor, it's good to have some acceleration to really seat those rings in as you accelerate or decelerate. So I think that's why they don't want steady state conditions like being on a highway cruising at 60. So really, this is a perfect road to brake a motor in, like that gravel road I was on. And I am on pavement now, as you can see. And just such a great bike on pavement. I am going to make a video about getting how to manage a bike as a shorter rider, a taller bike, so be watching for that. May not apply to all of you, but some of you it might. I had a KTM EXC 500 or 350 EXC, KTM 500 EXC. Those are both taller bikes, and we got along just fine on all those. And I still have a KTM 690, which is somewhat tall, and that bike has I've done fine with it. Now, if you do get like a condition with woods and trails and it's muddy and slick and you're having to get off the bike and, you know, go through some stuff that maybe at times isn't real rideable, that's tough. I mean, in those situations, especially in low traction, then it can be good to, I think, have a bike that's a little more fitting of your leg length. But I always go into, when I'm on a trail, I have the intent of riding it and riding through it and out of it. So that's kind of, I think overall makes you a better rider when you get your feet on the foot pegs and you're like, okay, I'm riding this. And, you know, with a bigger bike, you get rewarded for momentum when you're off-road. You get rewarded for carrying a little more speed if you're on technical terrain. So, I mean, don't carry more speed than you need to, but somebody gave me that tip years ago, and it was really helpful. Because you may not be able to just generate speed last minute if you're, you know, in a situation that you're trying to accelerate to get a little more speed. If you're on a big bike, that might be it. It might be over if you can't get that weight moving again. But if you go into it with momentum, and that weight can work for you and help propel you forward instead of working against you. But my experience has been, if you lose too much speed on a big bike, it can be a tough thing. You know, not on a highway like this, but if you're on a trail or something a little more technical. And look at this, just a great day. Light cloud cover, some sunshine, some blue sky, some fall leaves. Just great weather. I mean, I love it. And into the corners, these TKC 80s do feel good on a corner. Just have to remember that I'm not on a full-on street bike. That's the hard thing with this. Sometimes I want to get on it because it feels so good. Sharp corner, 90-degree corner. This bike just loves it. Tips in. It's not all bad sometimes being behind someone. It kind of slows you down, makes you take it easy for a little bit. Look at that view of the mountain range over there. Oh, a little bit of snow up in the mountains. I'll have to go a different direction, see if I can find some snow for you all. Yeah, see in the distance there's some fog, but there's some snow up in the mountains. We don't get a lot of snow here, so that's unusual for November. Huh. Beautiful afternoon. Clouds in the distance, and mountains. Oh. More mountains in the distance there. And the late evening sun playing off Snow Bank Mountain. That's great. That's what I think why many of us ride. It's just for the views. I mean, look at that. You can see a mountain in the distance. Late evening sun hitting it just right. That makes the ride worth it right there. That's beautiful. Great view. Anyway, I turned this on to talk about the motor. I really like this parallel twin. Two pistons working side by side. Not like a V-twin where they're next to each other in a V pattern. These are stacked right next to each other side by side in a parallel twin. Very smooth configuration. I like how it makes power smooth. I don't feel a lot of vibration. I'm sure they've got that counterbalance, but it's still very smooth compared to some of the other motors that I've driven. The gearbox on this has been very good. I haven't found false neutrals or anything. I have on other bikes that I've owned, but this one, so far so good. And I didn't on the 790 either. I had good luck. When I first bought this bike, I almost took it back first 300 miles. I almost took it back under for a warranty issue where the fifth gear seemed to be notchy. Every time I went into fifth, it was notchy, and sometimes it didn't seem to go in very well. And even if my foot, it just felt notchy. And before, I just don't like taking my bike into the dealer. I have no reason to be upset with them or anything. I just don't like people messing with my stuff. The older I get, it seems like when I take stuff in, sometimes something else gets scratched or damaged, and I just don't like doing it. And anyway, what I found is I changed the oil just to see, kind of a last-ditch effort. I thought, I'm getting close to break-in, and I usually change oil a little sooner with a new bike. I'll change it at maybe 300 miles or 400 miles, and then again at 1,000 miles, and then I'll go to more of a, I don't know, 2,500 to 3,000 mile interval, or once a year or something like that. But anyway, long story short, the notchiness went away. The transmission isn't doing that anymore. It hasn't done it even once since I changed oil. So I don't know if there's a break-in oil in there that was causing it, or I don't know. I can't explain it, but all I know is I changed oil and it hasn't done it since. So I guess what we can take away from that is if you are having that problem, I always like simple fixes. Try changing the oil. And I just use the Motorex 1050 oil power synth that it's supposed to have, or that they recommend anyway. So give it a try, see if that helps. Now this is what I love about these bikes. So here I can take pavement up here, take a big sweeping turn, but instead I can just keep going straight. I can just hit gravel, and it's just so stable. And this is loose, fresh grade, and I can ride on this all day long, and it feels fine, feels good. And that's what I love about adventure bikes, is you can hit the gravel, be on pavement, and it feels awesome. Man, what a nice evening. There's some high clouds, but it's clear, so you can see for a long distance. That mountain in the distance, that's quite a ways away. And I can see it pretty clearly. I feel like the steering stabilizer is pretty good on this bike, even just the stock one. I've used the Scott steering stabilizers at times. Oh, a wheelie there. But this just doesn't feel like it needs it. Yeah, brakes are definitely better on this. Not even coming close to using the full capacity of these brakes. What an evening. Still see the mountain in the distance. Cruise control is easy to use, so got this over here. I'll just push it in once to where it lights up on the dash, and then I'll just kind of hit set, kind of push down on it, and now it's set. So very easy. Push it in to turn it on, and then you push it down to set. Down click will take a mile or two off, and click up, and it'll add a mile per hour for each click, or you could probably hold it up, but I've found it to work very well. I don't use it a lot for where I ride, but I have had times where I did a longer ride, and it was helpful to regulate my speed so I wasn't going too fast. And also it's nice sometimes just to be able to relax a little bit and use it for that purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off. Take it off, I of course could hit the brakes, or I can just push this in. Oh, there it goes, it's off. So nothing to it. Yeah, cruise control isn't a bad thing. It can help you regulate your speed so you're not... I've found with this bike it's so easy. It's 6th gear, it's just really not working very hard, and it's easy to go a little faster than you intend. I've got the windshield in the high position with this little extender. The wind is hitting me really just at the top of my helmet. And so it's a real comfortable position in the cold. So if I stand up, I have to stand up quite a ways before the wind hits me, so I'll go ahead and stand up. Yeah, I guess I only got a couple inches before it starts to buffet my catch my visor, so it doesn't take a whole lot to get into that. But this does get me out of really the bulk of the turbulence. So it's been a good solution for me. Very composed in the corners here. I'd never dream I was on a bike running knobby tires. A little gravel on the road. That's what I love about adventure bikes, is just the versatility. Beautiful evening. Thanks for riding along with me. Oh, the mountain's just getting ready to tuck behind the mountain there. But here I am standing. Very comfortable to stand on this bike, but I did raise the bars just a little bit with the KTM riser. Didn't add a whole lot. I think it was only 10 millimeters. I think it's probably only 5, honestly. It is just enough to where it's comfortable, a little more comfortable to stand. I have it in the middle position. It's got 3 positions where it mounts to the triple clamp. It can move forward or backwards, and it comes in the middle position, and I just left it there. Feels really good, but it did need to come up just a fraction. I like the stock handguards. They keep the wind off my hands. It's 50 degrees now, so we've had a little drop in temperature since I've been riding, and I'm with some okay gloves. I'm staying...
Say a command. Cancelled.
Staying warm. So here we are, just rolling through the gears. It just accelerates nice, really briskly. Think about adventure biking. Out here where I live, there's always mud or debris on the road, and you just don't have to worry about it on an adventure bike. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to go fly into a corner, drag a foot peg, and hit some mud, but generally speaking, if you're driving in a sensible way, you're just not going to have a big issue. Yeah, bikes get you out in nature, get you out exploring. This sure beats just sitting at home in front of a computer doing paperwork. But unfortunately, it still needs to be done. But when you get back from a ride, somehow it's easier because you went out and at least you had a little fun. Love how that evening sun is playing off that mountain over there. Just beautiful. I do love the torque of this 890 parallel twin. Just pulls out of corners. It's not really that important what gear you're in anymore. With the 790, I did like to get my gear selection right. But with this, it doesn't seem to be quite as important. I still try to pick the right gear because I like to shift, truthfully. I think most of us on motorcycles do. Roll through the speed shifter, feels really good, smooth. What a beautiful evening. And I've actually found the seat comfortable on this bike. The seat is good. Suspension has been good. I'm struggling to find a complaint on it. They just have taken every little thing that was just a niggly little complaint on the 790, which was very few, and they've improved it. Some long sweeping corners here. There are some side roads that can spit gravel up on them, so you gotta be mindful. Like that road right there can spit some gravel out, so you just gotta watch that. Here's another road up here that can spit gravel out on the road, so likewise, same here. It's good to be mindful of it. Okay, well, thanks for riding with me this evening. It's been a good day. Hope you had a good day as well, and more videos to come on a variety of topics. Be well. Like I said, the only thing with this bike is, man, it's easy to get cruising along and you don't even know you're doing it. Until it's been raining, the rivers are getting pretty full. Right here, I'll have to review this Tusk 10-liter bag sometime and what I've got in there. That has been just a great little bag. Worked out well. I can get enough stuff in there to make it work to where I feel like I could fix most things that might happen. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a future review. All right, over and out. Have a great day and keep riding.